Welcome to Around the Lakes, getting you out and about here in the Finger Lakes. I'm Josh Durso, and today we are previewing an exciting event slated for June 8th along the Geneva Lakefront. Chelsea Snyder is with us to chat about the Finger Lakes Pride Fest. For the, what year is this for you guys? How many years?
It's the 5th annual Pride Fest. It's
Fifth.
Crazy.
So the first question I have to ask is, looking back to that first year versus now, what's the one thing that makes you stand back and sort of like, wow, this is really grown?
Yeah, I mean, so the first 2 years were run by two different coordinators. So this is my third year kind of taking it over. But I mean, I remember volunteering for like the first Pride Festival in downtown Geneva, and it was like right across from the Smith at the parking lot, you know, a bunch of tents and like, you know, people were skateboarding and just like, you know, I don't know. And now I think of it, I mean, the past few years, knock on wood, we've had amazing weather. It's now at the lakefront and like on grass, which is a whole different scene. You have the lake literally right there. Yeah. It's also free now. So like back when it was downtown, you know, it was all gated and like people had to pay to get in. So families were shelling out, you know, $5 a person, $10 a person. And now we've really tried to make it family friendly. So really tried to get sponsors to come in at higher levels. That way, you know, we can pay for all of our expenses, right, to put on the show, but also to just like let people come on in and enjoy the vendors and all the things we got going on. So, so it looks a lot different, and in like the environment sense, but also just family friendly. So.
And that's got to feel pretty awesome too, to know that you're one of the people who's behind it. I'm sure it takes a ton of people working together to make something like this happen, but it's got to feel pretty amazing to know that the kind of change that has happened within this event in a pretty short amount of time. I mean, 5th time in, and you're talking about almost a completely different event. When does it start? When does it end? And what are some of the things that are sort of happening within that time frame on the 8th?
Yeah, so we actually extended it. So last year it was from 1 to 9. This year it's going to be from 3 to 9 because we found that we had so many people that they couldn't get to all the things that were there, which is, I guess, a good thing. But we had almost 1,500 people that we clocked between 3 and 7, and that like didn't count the last 2 hours of the show. So so we're expecting more this year. So we're like, okay, let's extend it. So now it starts at 1. We have live music again. So the past year we didn't have live music because it's a lot to coordinate. But this year we have some local artists. We have Darwin, the Shrimps, and then the Ithaca's Gay Men's Choir coming up to perform from 1 to about 6. And then at 7 to 9, we have a family-friendly drag show. So its theme is Songs of Empowerment this year. So we'll see how that goes. But we love supporting our local drag community, and they're helping us out by coming, and all of these people are coming to help fundraise for our cause, which is really awesome.
Now, you mentioned the music being kind of a change from last year. That is a big change, like you mentioned, the organizational effort that it takes to make that happen, the coordinating. But talk to us a little bit about overall the coordination that is really necessary to pull off something like this. We were talking before we came on. It's a year of work for 8 or 9 hours of actual event. Walk us through what you're doing throughout the year to make sure that everything goes according to plan on the 8th.
Yeah, I mean, we put in the event application, I think we put it in August 2nd of last year to the city of Geneva to secure our spot and date. So it starts right after the festival.
It never stops.
It never stops. And, you know, we started editing and putting feelers out for sponsors and vendors. I want to say it was around Thanksgiving time, so like early November-ish. So we've been cruising, I mean, really since November, on making this thing happen. What it runs on now is a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of espresso. Okay. But, you know, I like to say I'm the ringleader, like the circus master, and then I have a lot of great volunteers that help out with random projects. We had some United Way volunteers that have been helping us out the past couple days for their Day of Caring. All of my employees have really stepped up this year. They're like, Chelsea, what can we do to help? And they've definitely done little projects that I'm like, I just can't make this phone call right now. And they're like, don't worry, I got you. So like those things really make a difference.
Does it get easier as you guys, every year, as it continues to grow and as it continues to be a success in the local community? Does it get easier to get folks involved and sort of helping out with different portions of what you guys have going on?
It's tough, you know, like, you know, we have so many people that come to the festival from literally all over, from Buffalo to Syracuse to Ithaca to like, you know, Corning up to Sodus, like, and, you know, even outside people visiting for the weekend. So I would love for that to say yes, but, you know, people want to get involved, and this is the best time to get involved. So we're still actually looking for a couple parking attendants volunteers for the day of. So if anybody
you
wants
heard
to
it here, people. Come on. What could be so hard about parking cars for 1,500 people?
You get some cool, like, flags to wave. I mean, it's fun.
So, when you guys moved, obviously, from downtown to the lakefront site, did that logistically make things a little bit easier for you guys handling the larger crowd that was every year starting to trickle in a little more and more?
Yeah, I think honestly, like visibility, right, of like people knowing it's happening. You'd think that downtown Geneva, you'd have more visibility, and I think we definitely had more support of like downtown businesses and that kind of thing. But now being on the lake, you know, we had people walking by, you know, on a nice day, they're walking their dog, they're walking their family, and they like peer in, they're like, oh, what's happening here? And, you know, it's really cool to have them like get really excited about the event and bring their, you know, family in to, you know, get food at a food truck, or, you know, go to the kids court and play some games, or like go check out a vendor that they didn't know, you know, it was happening, but they stopped in anyways. So, and
to that end, this is a real live festival.
Yes.
They're all of the true festival things are going to be here. Walk us through food and some of the other things that are going to be available for those who come on out.
Yeah, so we have 30 for-profit and not-for-profit vendors from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP, to Safe Harbors, to Women Made Products, to some like art and jewelry vendors, Finger Lakes Community Health, Trillium Health, Glove House Foster Care. I mean, just a lot of services. And this piece, I think, is the portion that I'm the most passionate about, because there's such a barrier to these like services for the LGBTQ community. So yes, the festival is about visibility and celebrating Pride Month, which is very important. It's the 50th anniversary of Stonewall. But for me, it's really important to have these vendors that are going to be there from 1 to 7, talking about the services that they can provide to the local, you know, Finger Lakes region. So barriers to healthcare, like that's a huge thing. So many, you know, people in the community don't go to a doctor because they're so worried of, like, you know, having to out themselves. Barriers to foster care, right? Barriers to sexual health, like, you know, protection, and to mental health services, to, I mean, even getting jobs. Like it's amazing.
A lot of the things that other folks may take for granted, and it's that sort of opportunity to connect. Access to services is always a conversation and a discussion in rural communities, and being sort of having this event at the heart of the Finger Lakes is great because it gives access to a lot of different folks. But to that end, expand a little bit on what you were talking about, just how difficult it is for some folks to be able to get access to those services, not just because of the typical things that we hear about transportation and things like that in rural communities, but then this sort of double whammy where there's the other issue at play here.
Yeah, so like access to services, let's just say healthcare. So if I had a trans client that hadn't seen a doctor in 8 years because they were so worried as a trans person, a transgender person, that they were going to not get like fair treatment, or that's an intimate area. They didn't want the nurses or the doctors to misgender them, or give them unequal treatment of a cold when the doctor may focus on their gender when they're like, no, I might have the flu, can you please like diagnose this cough and this runny nose. A lot of trans people don't get cancer screenings, which is not good because, those parts are really dysphoric for them. But so important to get tested for cancer because, men and women can both get breast cancer. And if they don't get those parts checked, they're going to have, cancer growing inside them for, who knows, maybe 8 years. So it's important to have so many healthcare providers that are informed, are willing to make, healthcare services inclusive. Finger Lakes Community Health has done amazing work with our program, coming and doing our Safe Zone trainings. They've had, every single one that I do for the community, they have at least 5 to 15 people come, and I've done several at their office. So from the people answering the calls to insurance billers to nurses and a couple doctors, they've come and done the LGBT 101. That way they can serve their community better and have a more safe environment for people to come in and get cancer screenings or get STI testing. That's so very important.
And obviously connecting services, but then on the other side of this is also educating the community at large, I would assume is part of this, especially when you're having it in such a visible location. You're providing that sort of education and access to folks who might not otherwise be exposed to that and actually have access to learn about these things. And some of them, one of the things that we hear pretty frequently is just the assumption that, well, that's not happening around here. There isn't that, there isn't that stonewalling of sort of service between person and services around here. That's not a thing. But it is. It's happening everywhere, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's happening in schools, in workplaces, in community functions. I want to clone myself for many reasons, just so I can have many hands and many fires. But, we cover 4 counties, and I can't tell you the outreach for our services is, insane. So, whether it's schools trying to get education and saying, hey, we have one out, trans youth, we really need education for our staff and also our students, or, workplaces, hiring trans people or LGBT, people, and being we need to change up our intake form, our employee handbook, what can we do to be more inclusive? So, I forget what the original question was. I went off on a tangent, but
no, it's I think it's interesting, and it's important too, because, you mentioned the reception within the service community, and that's kind of what we were just talking about. But What's the response been like from the community at large as you guys have continued to grow year after year after year? More and more folks obviously keep pouring in to the event, so it's got to feel good, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've had, Family Counseling Service holds this Finger Lakes Pride Festival, but something that I'm very passionate about is working with our connections and our community, right? So we're in the city of Geneva, so places like the Smith Opera House, the Cracker Factory, the Linden Social Club, the Ramada, like Farm to Table Kitchen, they've all kind of realized, hey, like people are going to be in town that weekend. Let's put on LGBT like themed events that are, you know, something that we can draw outside of the festival. So the Smith has several like screenings of movies and documentaries and a music performance on Friday. The Linden Social Club has drag bingo and a drag show Friday night. The Cracker Factory is doing a post-Pride party, and then drag brunch at the Ramada Sunday morning. So, you know, the Geneva BID is doing a decorating contest for downtown businesses. Like, it's just cool to see that community aspect of like, hey, we're embracing you. We want to know that you're in a safe place outside of like the fenced-in area of the festival. But also, I mean, when I go to the city planning meetings for our event, it's really cool to see, you know, the fire department so, like, willing to help us out. The police department, you know, is like, absolutely will come and do, like, you know, extra rounds and, like, give out stickers. Like, that's really important for our safety, but also to kind of show and actually do that action of, like, hey, we're allies. We're going to show that we're allies by, you know, coming and getting involved and hanging out and, you know, just interacting with people. So it's really cool to see all of that. And it shows too, right? Like you see that and you're like, oh, wow, I have more allies than I thought, or there's more LGBTQ people than I thought in the Finger Lakes. Last year we had probably a large number of like teens and like youth, which was really cool to see. But also their families, you know, their families would like make t-shirts and be like, we support, you know, so-and-so. So that was like really cool, you know, like that's what I want to see. And, you know, our youth group is called Not Alone, but I feel like when people come to the festival, they feel like they're not the only person in their school, in their town, in their neighborhood, in their community that is out and proud, that there is a lot of allies that might not show it every single day, but that people want to support and you know.
And where is the event technically drawing from? I'm curious, the audience in terms of who's coming out to the festival. Is it the entire Finger Lakes? Is it part of the Finger Lakes, or where do you sort of see the core draw from in past years?
Yeah, so we don't really get like an idea of where people are from, but the closest Pride festivals that are in the area are Rochester, which is not until July, and that's a huge one. There's one in Syracuse, I believe, that I think is in June, and I think Ithaca has one. So really between those points, like, is our area, right? So you know, it's the true Finger Lakes, and you know, we've really tried as a planning committee to try to trickle out and like advertise, but also try to get vendors from different areas. Like I said, I cover 4 counties, so we have some vendors from Wayne County this year and a couple from Yates. So that's really exciting to, you know, just bring people together and, you know, share more services outside of like, you know, we definitely are in Geneva and have a lot of Geneva-focused vendors and activities and information, but expand it to all of the things happening. So,
where do you find the energy? Where do you find the energy? Because the amazing thing with something like this is, and a lot of folks don't see it, but all of the effort that's going in behind the scenes to make this happen, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy,
yes.
and you're doing a job You have a job.
Yeah.
And it is not just planning this festival once a year.
Right.
How do you sort of stay motivated and stay on the grind and make sure that you're meeting all your marks along the way on the organizational side?
Yeah, so I literally had to cut off my calendar for all my programming, my actual job stuff. In April alone, I squeezed in so many programmings that I traveled 600 miles in 1 month. So, and had to say no to a lot of people that needed me in May. But I am definitely driven by, all of our clients. I mean, the kids that come to our support group are so very excited for Pride Festival, and they need to see that there's a community around and that they can come to a local event. They don't have to drive all the way to Rochester to pay $20 to get into a festival. I think it's important for so many reasons, but I think my drive is knowing that all of my hard work is going to pay off to make somebody's, life more meaningful, maybe longer. I know so many youth and adults that struggle with mental health and, not wanting to fight the good fight. And I'm like, there's so many people out there, they might not be saying it every day, but, you should be proud of who you are. We all are diverse in our own unique ways. And I think people that are different and maybe a little bit weird are fun and they should be celebrated. And we should all be embracing our differences and try to be inclusive of those differences, no matter what your identity makeup is. So that drives me, and also espresso.
Lots of coffee.
Yes.
So one last time, give us the 411 on the event. And then also what you need still. You still need volunteers, people.
Yes. So Saturday, June 8th, 1 to 9 at the Seneca Lakefront Park. So that is between the new Finger Lakes Welcome Center and the state park. So if people are putting in their GPS, just put in the Finger Lakes Welcome Center. That's where you can park. It's going to be free, but there will be things that you can buy, like food. We have a lot of great food vendors. We have a lot of great 21 and over adult beverages, and a lot of really cool merchandise for sale. Shout out to our top sponsors that made our festival free. So the New York State Fair is actually sponsoring us, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
The Finger Lakes Radio Group, CNY Latino, Trillium Health, CFCU. If you don't know CFCU, they're actually creating or opening up a new bank in Waterloo, I think this summer, so definitely check them out. And the Flounge. So all of those people were our top sponsors, which is really awesome. But things we need people to come out, spread the word. We're on Facebook, so just look up 2019 Finger Lakes Pride Festival. We're on there, so spread the word and come on out for an hour, grab some food, hang out. And then, if anybody wants to lend a hand, we'll take them until June 5th. So we need a couple more for parking. So.
All right. Appreciate the time, Chelsea. Keep up the good work. You are a real inspiration for a lot of people. So thanks a lot for coming in.
Thanks, Josh.